Hello, everybody. I know you can't see the camera right now. The camera cuts out literally in like the first minute of the video. I very much apologize. I don't know why the camera is not working. If anyone has any suggestions, please put them down in the comments. I want to get this issue fixed, but I don't know how. Anyways, there may not be a camera, but I hope you can still enjoy the video. And now, let's go to the video. How are we doing, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're back with Marvel Snap, but instead of playing some games, we're going to be analyzing the top 10 cards that need to be reworked in Marvel Snap and what I would do to rework them. Before we move on to number 10, I have two honorable mentions that I would like to get out of the way. Now let's go to honorable mention number 1. Honorable mention number 1, Havoc. Now, the reason Havoc did not make the top 10 list is because I do not think Havoc needs a complete rework, but I do think he needs a significant change in his design. Now, I think the best way to tackle this is, right now he says, after each turn you lose 1 max energy, and this gains +4 power. What would make this better is having an activate ability. What would it say? Activate. For the rest of the game, after each turn, you lose 1 max energy, and this gains +4 power. That would make Havoc so much better. So instead of the ability starting on turn 2, you could have it start on any other turn you want, throw Wiccan in there, and on turn like 4, 5, or 6, you might not be losing any energy and still have Havoc as a very powerful card. Maybe take his power down to 3, because if you do it on turn 5 or 6, he's going to be huge. That activate ability will solve all the timing issues with him. And the other reason he didn't make it to the top 10 list is because he's very good in high voltage, and I think high voltage specific cards are very fun. If you have Havoc, I'm sure you had a lot of fun with him in high voltage. And that's honorable mention number 1 and how I would rework Havoc. Let's move on to honorable mention number 2. Moving on to honorable mention number 2 is Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner is pretty bad. He's very inconsistent. And, wasting an energy for a chance for him to Hulk out is not very good. On top of his 2 cost and 1 power ratio. Not a very consistent or all-around good card. But I don't think he needs a complete rework, which is why he is also not on the top 10 list. Now, what Bruce Banner should say is he should also have Activate. And what his Activate ability should do is activate. If you end your turn with X amount of energy left over, Bruce Banner hulks out. So activating and then paying a price of, let's say, 3 unspent energy for him to Hulk out to maybe like a 10 power Hulk, a 9 power Hulk, or maybe, activate. If you enter turn with 2 unspent energy, he hulks out into like 8 or 7 power Hulk, something like that. Increase consistency, decrease power, and it'll make Bruce Banner a much better all-around card that can slot into, your typical high evolutionary deck. Alright, that's honorable mention number 2, and that's how I would fix Bruce Banner. Now, let's move on to the top 10, and let's see what number 10 is. Number 10 is Medusa, and Medusa's been around for a long time. It even got a buff. It wasn't always +3 power, it was originally +2. And you're probably thinking there's so many other cards that do a similar effect like this. But Medusa stood out to me is because, Medusa's one of the oldest cards in the game. Out when the game first came out. A very good card at the time for beginning players. But then once you, get better cards, she kind of just sits there. And you're probably thinking I could have picked literally any other card that does this. But once again, Medusa is the oldest. And I think her ability is very, very boring. But I think a good complete redesign would make her very unique, removing the middle location effect completely just a middle location and giving her on reveal, something different happens if you play at different locations. Like if you played at the left location, it gets plus X power. If you played at the middle location, give something minus something power. And if you play it at the right location, gain +1 energy next turn. Just, I like what they're doing with this, but I think the ability needs to just make it better, give it effects for all the locations. I know it's not like a complete redesign, but this is number 10 on the list. And I put it at the lowest because if this stayed as it is, I wouldn't really be too mad about that. But also if they made it for different effects at each location, that'd be a very unique card and probably the first of its kind, actually. Yeah, that's number 10, Medusa, how I would change it. Let's move on to number 9. All right, number 9, Electra. Now, unlike Medusa, this ability just needs to be like, the slate needs to be wiped clean. Now, I think what would make this really unique is, you know, instead of destroying a 1-cost card, maybe steal a 1-cost card, give her some negative power on reveal, steal a 1-cost card here. But that's not a, you know, complete redesign. Now, if you want the complete redesign, you could add, on reveal, add her, I don't know what those weapons are called, but, you know, add those to her hand, and then when you play them, they buff her or something. Something that keeps the flavor of what she has going on right now with her weapons and everything, even in her title she has one, but just removes the niche effect of on reveal, destroy an enemy 1-cost card. I just don't think it's the greatest ability. This is also number 9 because if this stayed how it is, I wouldn't really mind either. But if you want a complete rework, like adding 2 of these weapons to your hand when she reveals and they do something when you play them or something like that. Something a little more flavorful and better. All right, that's Electra at number 9, how I rework her. Let's move on to number 8. Moving on to number 8, we have Lizard. Lizard used to be very popular with Sarandex, and I do see him sometimes, but not enough, which is why he's number 8 on this list. Let's just get rid of this whole ability here. Now, what he should say, I think, if we completely redesign his ability, change it the other way around. If your opponent has 4 cards at this location, give -1 power to each of them, lower Lizard's power a bit, that'll make him a monster in competitive, and combo him with cards like Nebula to, you know, make your opponents play somewhere else, so you get that extra Nebula buff. That'd be an amazing complete redesign. What do you say? Ongoing. If your opponent has 4 cards here, give -1 power to each of them, lower his power a little bit, probably keep his cost the same. And I think that would make Lizard a much more unique and powerful card than what he currently is, which is not very good. He's okay with Luke Cage and stuff like that, but not the greatest, which is why he's, once again, I'll say it again, number 8 on this list. Well, that's Lizard and how I would redesign him. Let's move on to number 7. Number 7 is Angel. Angel is also a very old card. Very simple for new players, and I don't want to make him too overly complicated, which is why some of these changes to cards are very simple because, you know, they're old. And Angel is no different. 2 cost, 3 power. When one of your cards is destroyed, this flies out of your hand or deck to replace it. I've seen this sometimes. I rarely see it. It's not that good of an effect. It's good for beginners. But I think what we could do to make it better is we want to keep the flavor in, right? We want to keep the flavor of his wings. He's an angel. So what he should say is, on reveal, return one of your opponent's cards to their hand. And it's going to be a random one. And maybe we'll say, like, on reveal, return a card to an opponent's hand at this location that is under, you know, 4 costs or under 3 costs. Something to keep the flavor of, like, the angel wings and, like, you know, blowing an opponent's card back to their hand, like gusting it away, something like that. But also making it useful in games to, like, get rid of your opponent's early game cards. Once again, it would say, on reveal, return one of your opponent's cards at this location to their hand that costs like X or less. Something like that to make it a little better. I rarely see this card, which is why it is number 7 on this list. That is Angel and how I would rework it. Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is M'Baku. I've wanted this card reworked for a long time. This card's been out for quite a while. I do like this end of the game effect. So it might not be a complete redesign, but we're going to change almost every aspect of M'Baku. So bump his cost up to like 6 or 7, and you'll see why. Bump his cost to like 6 or 7 and give him like 8 or 9 power. Maybe even 10. And what he's going to say at the end of the game, if your deck is empty, jump to a random location. Or I guess we'll keep the lowest power location. That isn't full. It's not a complete redesign, but we're increasing the cost and the power, giving it a requirement to meet, and if it meets that requirement, you get an added bonus, which is getting a free like 10 power card. But you have to empty your deck completely, which can be easy sometimes, it can be hard sometimes. There are cards that can help you do that though, like the Blob, which would create some very cool combos, maybe decrease the cost and power, so if you have to, you can play it. But if you're able to empty your deck, it'll jump to a random location with that 7 or 8 power. I know I do really like the jumping mechanic, so we're definitely going to keep that for the new version. Alright, that is number 6, M'Baku, and how I'd redesign it once again is, at the end of the game, if your deck is empty, this jumps from your deck to the lowest power location, just like this, but increases cost of 5, 6, or 7, and increases power to like 7, 8, 9, or even 10. Alright, now let's move on to the top 5 of cards that need to be redesigned the most. Number 5 is Yellow Jacket. Now I put Yellow Jacket in the first spot of the top 5 because, you know, he's definitely worse than all of the cards below him. All of the cards have their use specifically. I can't remember the last time I saw a Yellow Jacket being used. He's horrible. He's very bad. So how we're going to redesign him, maybe we'll keep him 0 so we can have some, 0 cost variety. We'll increase his power to like 4. And what he'll say, I like the afflict with -1 power. He'll say, on reveal, if your opponent has exactly 2 cards at this location, give -1 power to each of them. So that'll be so if his power is changed to 4, his cost is still 0. That's a 0-6. If your opponent has exactly 2. If it's not, you have a 0-4. A 0-4 with no abilities is still good, but it's not as good as, let's say, a 1-drop with good abilities. So that incentive for exactly 2 cards. And that also works very well for, I don't remember the name of the location, but the location where if you have exactly 2 cards, you draw a card. If you have exactly 2 cards at this location, you draw a card. That location. That's what it says. And, that would combo very well with Yellow Jacket. I think that would add a lot more uniqueness, while also, changing, instead of afflicting your stuff, he afflicts your opponent's stuff. And, number 5, once again, because he's just, never used. That is how I would redesign Yellow Jacket, and he is number 5. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is Agatha Harkness. And I know what you're thinking, why would you put Agatha at number 4 for a card that needs to be reworked the most? Well, the only reason this is number 4 is not because it needs a complete rework, but because it needs to be changed to, not be in Arisham decks. When you play Valentina, you can't get Agatha. It's so annoying when I'm playing Arisham and I draw an Agatha Harkness and then I just can't play the game. I propose that either you make it so when you're getting 6 cost cards from Nick Fury or Valentina, or you have Arisham cards in your deck, Agatha can't be one of those cards. You can actually play the game. But that'll also increase the chances of getting better 6 cost cards, and now I make it that might make cards like that a little too powerful. So the other suggestion I have is nerfing Agatha Harkness to say, game start, if Agatha started in your deck, draw Agatha and she controls your cards on even turns. So she has to start in your deck for you to be able to be forced to play cards. That'll solve the situation with, you know, Archim and Valentina and Nick Fury. All right, let's move on to number 3. Moving on to our top 3, we have Morph. Now, Morph is a very cool card. I really like what they wanted to do with him, but he sucks. His consistency is like basically 0. There's always the off chance that you could get a really good card for 3, but there's always the, you know, more likely chance that you get something that's not good for your deck at all. It's just like, it doesn't help the consistency of your deck. So, here's what I propose for a complete redesign. We're probably gonna keep, maybe we'll increase his cost to 4 or 5. Keep the 0 power, and you'll see why. On reveal, what the new ability is gonna say is, what it says right now is on reveal, become a copy of a card in your opponent's hand. What the new one will say, on reveal, become a copy of a card in your hand, in your own hand, or your own deck. So you get the risk of not getting something you need, but also the payoff of getting something consistent for your deck with still that, you know, fun morph chance, increasing the cost so it's not too broken. And, you know, new ability, on reveal, become a copy of a card in your hand or your deck, something like that. So, you know, Morph can actually help you instead of hurt you. And yeah, that would make Morph a much better card. You could probably throw him in most decks to increase consistency of one card that maybe your deck is built around. That'll make it a lot better. You might get an extra, like, removal thing. Like, it might turn into Red Guardian. You'll get something extra with that. Like, it'll just increase consistency for all decks. It'll make it a viable card to put in any deck. And once again, it's number 3 because I've never seen this used, like, ever. I can't remember the last time I saw a Morph pay off well, like, consistently. Yeah, so that's why Morph is number 3. Number 3. That's how I would rework Morph. And now let's move on to the top 2. Number 2 is Ghost. And I'm surprised they haven't changed Ghost's ability yet, because Ghost has gone through a buff. It was originally a 1 cost 2 power. Now it's a 3 cost 5 power. And it says right now, ongoing, your cards are always revealed last. Their on reveal abilities happen last. This card sucks. I know there are certain scenarios when this might be useful, but like, it's impossible for you to consistently play Ghost. Like, let me give you a scenario. So, your opponent has a 10 power card. You have Ghost out, and you have Shang-Chi. So, you reveal last. And it's turn 7. They RM Zola, that 6 costs like 10 power card. We'll say Red Hulk, for example. They RM Zola the Red Hulk. Now they have 2 Red Hulks. And you reveal last, so your Shang-Chi does nothing. Now, if we go to that same scenario without Ghost, and you have Shang-Chi, you destroy the Red Hulk before they RM Zola it. I feel like every deck should be switching from having priority first and having priority second. It'll increase, like, consistency. It might throw your opponent off on what you're doing. But just going last for priority will, it'll be too predictable for your opponents. Ghost is just not a good card. I don't remember last time seeing it. It's horrible. It needs a complete redesign. That's why it's number 2. Now, what I would do to redesign it is we want to keep the theme of Ghost, you know? She's like, you see her and then she's not there. Like, I think she can, like, phase through stuff in the Marvel movie she's in. I don't remember. But what I think it would be very cool is, so we keep her 3 cost 5 power. That stays. But you have to play her on turn 3 for the special ability. So it says, if you play this card on turn 3, it can't be destroyed until the end of that turn. That'd be very good because at locations like, I forget the name of it, but, you know, on turn 3, destroy cards at this location. Play Ghost, doesn't get destroyed, or cards that say, or that one location that says, when you play a card you're destroying, get +2 energy. You play Ghost there, bam, 5 power immediately. But you have to play it on turn 3 specifically. So if you play it on any other turn, it doesn't have that effect, it's just a 3/5. That'll make Ghost a much better card, keeping the thematics, the flavor of Ghost, just all that. Once again, if you play this card on turn 3, it can't be destroyed until the end of that turn. I think that would make Ghost a very fun card to play. Very high risk, high reward situation. And that is why Ghost is number 2 on this list. Ghost just sucks right now. I have not seen Ghost in a long time. Alright, now, I think most of you can guess what number 1 is. A lot of people have been talking about reworking him. So let's just move on to number 1. And now for the number 1 card that needs to be reworked the most is Kang the Conqueror. Everybody knew this was going to be number 1. There was no surprise. Kang has been out for a long time. Somehow still a Series 5 card. Series 5. That's ridiculous. Who wants to open, you know, a Spotlight Key and then get Kang the Conqueror? 5 cost. 0 power. On reveal, look what your opponent did, then restart the turn without this. Just play Daredevil. Like, Daredevil, 2 cost, 3 power, and turn 5, see what your opponent does before you play your turn. Kang, like, he's garbage. He's horrible. Most of the time, he doesn't even help you even though you know what your opponent is doing. They can just change what they're doing. Alright, here's how I would rework Kang. Give him, like, Give him -3 power. Keep his cost, maybe 5, maybe increase it to 6, or maybe down to 4. On reveal, conquer this location. And what conquering a location will do is, you can't lose the location no matter what. So, okay. On reveal, if you're winning this location, conquer this location, and then you can't lose the location for the rest of the game, as long as Kang is at that location. Maybe give him like 1 or 2 power. What this will do is this will give a very high risk, high reward card that will make it so you can't lose a location if you're winning it, and Kang is there. And it'll probably it'll probably make your opponent retreat because you have a guarantee win at one location. Or they'll play something sneaky and either move or destroy your Kang. And then you're gonna want to have ways to protect it and give it the ability to not be able to move. Something like that. That'll make Kang a monster. So once again, complete redesign. Give him maybe 4, 5, or 6 costs. Give him 1, 2, or 3 power. On reveal, if you're winning this location, conquer it, and you can't lose this location as long as Kang is at that location. That'll make Kang so much better because he's horrible right now. I think that's a really cool redesign for him. I couldn't think of a better redesign. I think that redesign idea that I have is a stellar one. I hope anyone sees this video. Anyone with connections to Marvel Snap, please fix Kang. He's number 1 on the list for a reason. Number 1 most redesigned card. Number 1 card that should be redesigned most. Kang the Conqueror. Remember, those are just my opinions. Let me know your opinions down in the comments below. And let me know if I missed any cards that should be on the list, any cards I should take off the list, or any redesign suggestions you have. Remember, these are just my opinions, and you can make your own, of course, and let me know about them. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, if you want to comment down below what you thought of my list, you think it's bad, you think it's good, if you think anything should be changed, these are just my opinions. Have your own, and please let everybody in the Marvel Snap community know, as they already do, probably, rework Kang. And I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day, guys.